I wish to welcome all members who have logged into the virtual plenary session. There will now be an opportunity for silent prayer or meditation. Thank you. Honorable members, before we proceed, I would like to remind you that the virtual plenary is deemed to be in the precinct of Parliament and constitute a meeting of the National Assembly. In addition to the rules of virtual sittings, the rules of National Assembly, including the rules of debate, apply. Members enjoy the same powers and privileges that apply in a sitting of the National Assembly. Members should equally note that anything said in the virtual platform is deemed to have been said to the House and may be ruled upon. All members who have logged in shall be considered to be present and requested to mute their microphones and only unmute when recognized to speak. This is because the mics are very sensitive and will pick up noise which might disturb the attention of other members. When recognized to speak, please unmute your microphone and where connectivity permits, connect to your video so that we can see your presence. Members may make use of the icons on the bar at the bottom of their screens, which has an option that allows a member to put up his or her hand to raise points of order. The Secretariat will assist in alerting the chairperson to members requesting to speak. Lastly, when using the virtual system, members are urged to refrain or desist from unnecessary points of order or interjections. Honorable members, we understand that some of you might have the challenge in connectivity and therefore where the bandwidth might be a problem, maybe just showing your face in the beginning and then requesting to close if that is your challenge, that will be acceptable. Today, the only item on the order paper is questions addressed to the President. Parties have given an indication on which questions their members wish to pose a supplementary question. Adequate notice was given to parties for this purpose. The members who will pose supplementary questions will be recognized by the presiding officer. In allocating opportunities for supplementary questions, the principle of fairness, among others, have been applied. When all the parliamentary questions have been answered by the President, we will proceed to the next question on the question paper. The first question has been asked by Honorable J.S. Malima. The question is, considering the upsurge of Afrophobic violence instigated by the March and March and other groupings in the Republic, and noting the impact such actions have had on the standing of the Republic in the African continent, including the snubbing of his special envoy to the continent, the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Honorable R.O. Lamula, by the Nigerian President. What medium to long-term interventions has he put in place to restore the credibility of the Republic as an honest Pan-African voice in the continent and the diaspora? Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker and honorable members. South Africa remains a respected member of the African community of nations and a principled Pan-African actor. We continue to participate actively in continental as well as regional bodies and processes. While some African countries have raised concerns about the anti-migrant actions by some groups in our country, as a government, we have firmly and publicly rejected xenophobia, Afrophobia, vigilantism, and all forms of discrimination against people from other countries. At the regional and continental level, We have reinforced South Africa's commitment to Pan-Africanism through cooperation with SADC, the African Union, and partner states on migration, governance, regional integration, and burden sharing. We've had direct engagements with a number of heads of state and government to explain our position and our approach. Last week, at the 46th Ordinary SADC Summit that we hosted in eThekwini, we took the opportunity to brief the leaders of the region on the situation in the country. And this we did without being asked either to account or to explain. We took it upon ourselves to put the matter on the agenda, and I also addressed it in my inputs, and we explained precisely what the situation had been in our country. In its communique, the summit called for a coordinated and multi-dimensional dialogue at the regional level to address the underlying drivers of migration and develop comprehensive, sustainable, and effective responses. Now, through our comprehensive approach to managing migration, we have emphasized that migration challenges must be addressed through the rule of law, respect for human dignity, and the strengthening of state institutions, not through unlawful actions targeting foreign nationals. An important part of this approach is the reform and modernization of South Africa's migration governance framework, and this includes strengthening border management, addressing corruption within the immigration system, improving legal migration pathways, and implementing the white paper on citizenship, migration, and refugee protection. Now, these measures are intended to enhance public confidence in the state's ability to manage migration effectively while upholding South Africa's constitutional and international obligations. Our country continues to advocate for collective African solutions to the drivers of migration, while engaging diplomatically to address concerns about developments in the country. Our Minister of International Relations and International Cooperation has traveled to a number of countries as my envoy to meet a number of states and heads of government. And at times it has been quite challenging to synchronize the diaries of all the heads of states. He was well received in Ghana. He was well received in other countries. We've had discussions even at my level with various heads of states who have articulated their deep understanding for what has been happening here. And they have wished us well, and they have said that they are willing and able to support South Africa as it deals with this difficult problem. And they have also characterized it as a complex problem, meaning that there is deep understanding of the challenges we're going through. While other people might have thought that we are being snubbed and we are being isolated, actually the contrary has been the case. As we have sat down to explain precisely the challenges that we are going through, we have found, to our pleasant appreciation, that there is understanding and there is support, and a number of countries are saying they're willing to work with us to have this problem resolved. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable President. The first supplementary question will be asked by Honorable J.S. Malema.
Thank you, Speaker. May I please request the IT to accept Honorable Malema? He's been on the lobby for some time. He would like to take his question, but he's on the lobby, Speaker.
Thank you. IT, can you assist us? Accept the member who is said to have been on the lobby, in the lobby rather.
Thank you, Speaker. I think they allowed him in and removed him again, but he said they are allowing him back in once again. He's ready to take up his follow-up, Speaker. My apologies.
Okay, is Honorable Malema in the meeting now?
Speaker, I'm in the house.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Malema. You
I was
can.
struggling, I was in and off, on and off.
Yes, they did indicate to us, your honorable members did indicate that
In and
there
off,
has
Speaker,
been a
in and
challenge.
off.
So, no, sorry about that. We apologize profusely. Can you please take your supplementary question?
On 613.
The first question, which is the question you asked,
Oh, okay.
question 13 on migration.
Thank you very much, Speaker and Mr. President. The level of violence perpetrated against African foreign nationals in this country over the past few months has a face. We know who the instigators and the perpetrators of this violent act are. In certain instances, we have seen perpetrators unleashing their violence against African immigrants in the presence of the police, and yet no one of these perpetrators and instigators is arrested. This gives an impression that this violence is in fact a state-sanctioned violence against African nationals. This hardens the attitude of our sisters nations in the continent, because to them and to many of us, these are not isolated actions of vigilante groups, but rather actions aided by the state. Why have the perpetrators of this violence not been arrested and prosecuted? What is even worse, the two of them came to meet with you. You should have locked them up that day when they came to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Malema. Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you for that question, Honorable Malema. The issue of the instigators of this violent actions that have been taken against people from other countries is a matter that is being processed. The police have informed us, and all security apparatus have informed us that they are following all that up. They are getting all the reports and evidence. A number of other people have been arrested, and of course, those others who were seen to be leading these processes are also people who are of interest, of direct interest to the police, and that is a process that is going to be followed up. We are obviously concerned about the actions that have been taken against many Africans in our country, and we have made it clear that those who violate the law, those who transgress the various precepts of our laws, need to be dealt with. And in a number of cases where, for instance, incidents of violence have even resulted into injury, into death, we are going to be following all that up and ensuring indeed that those who have perpetrated those acts are followed up, and there will be arrests, and there will be charges that will be preferred against those who have done so. So that is a process which the police, the prosecuting authority, is going to be following up. without any doubt. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Ndanda.
Thank you, Honorable President. The second supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Smith.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Mr. President, March and March's campaign may have cast a spotlight on the issue of illegal migration, but the presidency and DIRCO have failed to address the root cause of the decades-long influx of cross-border travel to our country, the dictatorial and oppressive regimes that plague many of our neighbouring states and deprive their citizens of freedom and opportunity. We cannot keep using respect for state sovereignty as a convenient excuse not to address brutal dictatorships next door. This matter remains diplomatically sensitive, but it can no longer be ignored or brushed aside. When will you take seriously and actively address the backslide of democracy in our region and the growing threat of authoritarianism and state collapse that is placing the burden of mass migration on South Africa's doorstep?
Thank you, Honorable President.
Honorable Speaker, we have in our analysis of the reasons why people throng to our country addressed the issue of South Africa being seen to be an economic oasis, and the fact that being this economic oasis that people see and perceive that they can get a better life from South Africa as the one that has attracted a number of people to our country. Now, what makes people leave their own countries is given rise to by a variety of reasons. People either leave because they feel that their lives are in danger. They are refugees seeking security elsewhere. They either leave because their economic situations are dire and want to come to better locations where they can advance their economic challenges. And they leave for many other reasons. What we have to be mindful of is that we need to advance the interests of South Africans. And that is why we've taken the steps that we have taken to make sure that those who are in our country are properly documented. They have the necessary papers that puts them here, and that employers who employ people who are not documented needs to be dealt with in terms of our laws. The processes that ensue in various other countries in terms of their governance is a matter that the citizens of those countries are firmly the owners of and the drivers of. And we respect the sovereignty of other countries. And as we respect their sovereignty, we want them to respect our own sovereignty. So we will deal with other countries with respect. We will deal with other countries with recognition of what they are and what they stand for. And we will act in tandem with regional bodies that take views and positions on various activities that take place in various countries. Where there are challenges in other countries, it is the regional bodies that will take a firm view of what needs to be done. As we have done in even the recent past, where there have been challenges in a number of our neighbors. Lesotho is one case in point, Mozambique is another case in point, and DRC is another case in point, and even Zimbabwe has been a case in point. So, and now Madagascar. So we act in accordance with the decisions of our region. We are not lone rangers. We know that we belong to a community of nations. And even as we address the issue of migration, we have made it a point that we need to address it collectively. And we are very pleased that that approach has been well accepted and well embraced. And we will, and we have taken a view that that is what we need to do going forward. So we are a product of our region. We are a member of our region, and we must act in unison with our region. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable President. The third supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Ishmael Musa. Honorable Ishmael Musa, can you please unmute so that you can take your supplementary? Can we move to Honorable C.T. Nondenja?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. For decades, many African governments, including South Africa, have tolerated entrenched corruption, lack of service delivery, and failed to build inclusive economies, particularly in the SADC region. Failing economies created fragile states where opportunities became scarce and institutions turned weak, leaving citizens poor and helpless. This has resulted in waves of inter-African migration, driven not by choice but necessity, with South Africa unfortunately hosting approximately 3 million undocumented immigrants, drawn by the country's stronger economy and infrastructure, while grappling with the pressing economic and social concerns with deepening unemployment crisis. March and March movement is a consequence of a symptom of a bigger African migration problem. Mr. President, what initiatives have you taken to engage other African state leaders, particularly SADC, to find effective and comprehensive measures to curb this crisis without blaming South Africa as a scapegoat?
Thank you, Honorable Nondenja. Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. As I said earlier, I did say that we, as South Africa, raised this matter, as they say, meremuto, on our own, without being prompted by any of the leaders at the summit. We raised it and put it on the agenda. It was not on the agenda, so we put it on the agenda and then took the time to explain what had happened. And we put on the table the actions that we are taking. But we also took it further and called upon the region and indeed the continent to join us in addressing this matter. And we did say that the issue of migration cannot be handled by any one country alone. It needs collective action. And it requires that we should work together. And in doing so, we should look at the reasons why migrants from our various countries on the continent feel propelled to leave their countries, to go to other countries. And we did say, for instance, that we have been the biggest recipient of migrants from a number of countries on the continent, where a number of migrants leave their countries and cross a number of borders of other countries and go right across a number of other border gates coming to South Africa. And there was sensitivity in terms of understanding that. And we then did say, this requires that all of us should address this matter. We cannot sit on the side of the table without getting involved in the discussions. And the discussions, no doubt, will lead to the management not only of migration, but it will lead to the reasons why people leave. It will inevitably come down to economic management in the various countries. It will inevitably come down to social structures or architecture of assistance in those countries. It will inevitably also touch on issues such as health and a whole number of others, including security. So our approach, therefore, is that no one country can handle migration on its own. It needs to be a process and a challenge that should be addressed by all of us, acting together without pointing a finger at any one of us. And that's precisely what a number of leaders of countries have said. We shouldn't do so. And others have actually come out to be fully on the side of South Africa, and they have even opined that South Africa is under attack. In the past, people have always lived side by side, but now this issue has been seen as a fault line, and those who want to use other people to achieve their own ends are utilizing this to tarnish the name of South Africa, but also to weaken South Africa. And they have actually actively said, we will work with you as a country, as we have always enjoyed your support whenever we have faced other challenges. So you can be rest assured that we're dealing with this matter actively, and we are dealing with it in a way where we avoid the pointing of fingers at one country and say, this is a common problem amongst all of us and we need to handle it together. Thank you, Honorable.
Thank you, Honorable President. We now have well, let me check first whether Honorable Musa is back on the platform. If not, we go to the last supplementary question. Let's proceed. Honorable J.S. Malima, if you can take your last supplementary.
Thank you very much, Speaker and President. Mr. President, there is no doubt that this has caused so much damage to South Africa's relations with our sister African nation who view this as a state-aided violence. What concrete steps is your government taking to ensure prosecution to protect foreign nationals living in South Africa and to reassure the continent that this government does not condone xenophobia? And to an extent that you can commit to a timeline on how, by when, and how are you going to act on those perpetrators?
Thank you, Honorable Malima. Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The commitment I can make is that those who are perpetrating and have perpetrated acts of violence against foreign nationals are going to be dealt with. The police and the prosecuting authorities have been given the responsibility to make sure that anyone who commits criminal activity in our country are followed up and they are brought to book. That, in terms of our adherence to rule of law, is exactly what we expect to happen and will happen. A timeline I would ordinarily like to give but it really depends on the speed and the determination with which they shall work that will determine precisely the timeline. This is a very sensitive matter, and our neighbors and our fellow African heads of state and government, and indeed their citizens, looking at South Africa, how we manage this process. And it is on the basis of that that they will be able to see our seriousness in terms of dealing with the issue of migration. And we have said that the rule of law must apply, and those who have done wrong or continue to do wrong must be dealt with. And that is what we have said to them, and a number of them have said, we understand, complex as this issue might be. So we are processing that in that manner. And it's been interesting, as we have also found, that there have been activities that we have observed by a number of forces outside our country that have been bringing to bear their influence in this whole process. Those foreign or sister countries on the continent have realized that, and they have said, we know and we can see that quite a bit of this, certainly not all of it, but quite a bit of this is being propelled and instigated from outside of South Africa. And we have said that's precisely what we are following up as well. We are following those threads and those threats as well. So it's a complex problem. It's a multifaceted problem, but we are at work and working it through and deciphering precisely the various roles that have been played by our own people, as well as those we perceive to be outsiders who want to disturb the stability in South Africa by getting South Africans to seem to be at war with Africans from other nations. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable President. We now move to question 14, which has been asked by Honorable M. Dooley. The question is, given that the role of interim chair of the Southern African Development Community, SADC, places a particular responsibility on the Republic to contribute to the preservation of constitutionalism, democratic governance, peace and stability in the region, and noting that the political developments in the Republic of Madagascar have raised important questions regarding the restoration of constitutional order, protection of democratic institutions, and establishment of a credible and inclusive political process, what concrete measures has the Republic implemented in its capacity as the interim chair of SADC to ensure that the Republic of Madagascar returns to the constitutional and democratic order, and what is the time frame within which SADC expects the transition to be completed? Honorable President, you will forgive us that the question was given at the time when South Africa was an interim chair before the full chairship that happened last week. Honorable President.
Honorable Speaker, thank you. South Africa continues to play an active role through SADC to support Madagascar's return to constitutional governance through sustained diplomatic engagement, mediation, and oversight of the transition process. This support includes the deployment of the SADC panel of elders, which is led by Her Excellency, former President of Malawi, Dr. Joyce Banda, which undertook 3 missions to Madagascar at the instance of SADC. The community also expanded the mandate of the SADC panel of elders to facilitate dialogue, consensus building, and reconciliation amongst key stakeholders. Approval was given for the deployment of a SADC liaison office in Antananarivo to support the implementation of the program for the refoundation of the Republic of Madagascar, the electoral reforms, as well as the organization of the referendum and the general elections. South Africa and SADC maintain that the reform process, which is dubbed refoundation process, must remain inclusive. It must also be transparent, impartial, and time-bound. The process shall and should serve rather as a pathway to advance the restoration of a full constitutional order and the establishment of a democratically elected government. So in this regard, SADC continues to engage all stakeholders to encourage adherence to the agreed commitments and to support conditions that are conducive to a peaceful and credible transition. So the completion of the transition remains guided by the sovereign will and democratic aspirations of the people of Malagasy. The ultimate objective is to restore constitutional governance, strengthen democratic institutions, and ensure long-term peace and stability in Madagascar. And we are observing on a continuous basis the processes that are unfolding in Madagascar at close range to see that they do indeed lead to the outcome that we have alluded to. So the situation is being managed and being managed to good effect. And SADC remains firmly involved in the management of the situation in Madagascar. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable President. Honorable Nduli for the first supplementary.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon, Mr. President, and good afternoon to all fellow honorable members. And thank you very much, Mr. President, for that detailed answer to the question. The follow-up that I have, and I'm glad that the Speaker mentioned that the question had been prepared long before the successful SADC summit that you and the government you lead, Mr. President, hosted in our country in Durban a week or so ago. What I would like the President to clarify us on as members of Parliament, are there any specific, Mr. President, specific commitments that the summit decided on, and probably also with some new time frames within which, in the opinion of the region, the restoration of the constitutional democracy in Madagascar should have been achieved? I'm asking this question, Mr. President, in the light of the fact that I would imagine that this matter had occupied a center stage in the discussion in the recently held SADC summit in Durban. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Nduli. Honorable President.
Yes, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Yes, there have been time frames that SADC has given to the return of constitutional normalcy, and we've also endorsed the process that is being supported by the panel of elders, and we've given a time frame that sets out 12 months and certainly not more than 24 months. So there are clear time frame lampposts that have been put in place, and the effect of having the panel of elders means that there will be continuous engagement between Madagascar and SADC without SADC overly interfering in the sovereignty of Madagascar, but SADC will satisfy itself that there is a movement forward. One of the things, of course, we've had to recognize is that the people of Madagascar themselves have taken action themselves to get involved in a national dialogue. So the national dialogue process that they have embarked upon, which is Malagasy-led, which includes all various formations of Madagascar, is a very, very positive sign as far as we are concerned that gives us confidence that there will be an outcome that should be within the time frame that has been put forward. So the transition timetable that was announced by Madagascan authorities themselves is what has given us confidence. And we do hope that that will be adhered to. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable President. Honorable Mkhize.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Given that the Republic's credibility as interim chair of SADC rests on its moral authority to demand constitutional accountability from Madagascar, how does the President reconcile that role with his continued refusal to submit to full public accountability on the Phala-Phala matter, including the outstanding findings on possible violations of Section 34 of the Prevention and Combating of Corrupt Activities Act and Section 89 of the Constitution? And does he accept that this unresolved matter undermines the very credibility SADC now requires of the Republic? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The matter that Parliament is dealing with is a preserver of Parliament and will continue to be dealt with by Parliament. And I have always said that in the end, Parliament and indeed the various other structures of our criminal justice system, judicial system, must deal with this matter to the fulfillment of the various principles that we have enshrined in our Constitution. So as far as I'm concerned, that matter is being handled, and I've always said it's best we leave it there in the way that it is being handled. As regards our region continues to have its own precepts and adheres to rule of law, and those matters are well handled also in terms of all those processes. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable President. I've been informed in terms of our rules that the question that was to be taken by Honorable Noluchungu is now going to be taken by Honorable Niehaus. Honorable Niehaus.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Mr. President, the removal of President Andry Rajoelina from the office in Madagascar by actions backed by the Army Corps of Personnel and Administrative and Technical Services Military Unit, whose leader, Colonel Michael Randrianirina, is now President of Madagascar, was effectively a coup by the military. The African Union recognized this for what it was, a forceful takeover of power by the military. Despite this position by the African Union, why have you and the SADC decided to embrace a coup leader in the person of Michal Randrianirina? Mr. President, I'm sure you will agree that the optics of this does not look good and does not bode well for making sure that in all circumstances, those who get involved in coups and who participate in such should be clearly recognized and must be taken that they are forcefully taken out, over power by the military. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Niehaus. Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. What happened in Madagascar is best understood, yes, as a change of government that happened, but it was a matter that SADC, having dealt with it, felt that it was dealt with within the constitutional processes in Madagascar, in that the Constitutional Court dealt with the issue of the vacancy that had occurred after President Rajoelina, following the unrest, sought to dissolve Parliament and thereafter fled the country. And the Constitutional Court, a structure within the constitutional architecture of Madagascar, ruled that a vacancy had occurred. And what followed thereafter was the filling of that vacancy by the current president. And it was on that basis that SADC, having looked at the processes that are now underway, that have been inspired and commenced by the people of Madagascar themselves, felt that SADC must support that process and stay close to the process, as from what we can read and see, and through our involvement with the panel of elders, will lead to the refoundation of Madagascar and the final confirmation of their constitutional adherence. So it was in that context that SADC, having addressed the matter and having dealt with the matter, reached the conclusion that it did. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable President. We now move to Honorable N.M. Hadebe.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable President, once a democratic and constitutional transition has been completed in Madagascar, what mechanisms will SADC put in place to ensure accountability for actions that undermine constitutional order, while at the same time ensuring that the transition promotes reconciliation, democratic stability, and respect for the rule of law? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable President. You can take the question.
Honorable Speaker, the processes that are underway are being led and managed by the people of Madagascar themselves. We have been clear as SADC that the national dialogue process, the reconciliation process, must be homegrown must be led by the people of Madagascar themselves. SADC will play two roles. It will play the role of having an information gathering process on the ground and a panel of elders who will be on hand whenever help is needed. As to the outcomes of what the people of Madagascar themselves will determine in national dialogue, it is up to them as the people of Madagascar. For SADC, all we ever want to see is that there should be peace and reconciliation in Madagascar. The people's voice must determine the future of the country in a very transparent and democratic way. And we would like to see all sectors of society working together to achieve that end. Interference by SADC is something that we are not going to do. All this must be engineered by the people of Madagascar themselves. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable President. The last supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Nduli. Honorable Nduli.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Mr. President, I seem to recall that there was a specific deadline of the 28th of February 2026 for Madagascar to submit a report on the readiness for the dialogue, as well as a draft national roadmap, which would have determine the steps that are going to be followed when the dialogue unfolds. I would like to check, Mr. President, whether in terms of your latest record and information, that deadline was indeed met by Madagascar. And if not, were there any specific explanation or information provided to the SADC leadership? Thanks, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Nduli. Honorable President.
Honorable Speaker, yes, Madagascar has submitted a plan to SADC. It's a draft national roadmap. In December, the SADC Extraordinary Summit met and formally directed Madagascar to submit two documents by the 28th of February 2026, a dialogue readiness report and a draft national roadmap. It also required progress updates in May, August, and November of 2026. So Madagascar did submit the plan, and Madagascar's transitional authorities subsequently submitted what they call the program for the refoundation of the Republic of Madagascar on the 28th of February 2026 to the SADC delegation. It sets out a four-phase process that's intended ultimately to establish a fifth republic, as they call it, including political, institutional reforms and a new constitutional order. Now, this is important because it means Madagascar did submit to the SADC deadline rather than to simply ignore it. And this is what has given us confidence that Madagascar, with the current government in place, is serious about moving forward to ensure that there is adherence to reconciliation. And the fact that there have been 3 missions by the panel of elders in January and February, as well as in May, means that they are accepting SADC's involvement and guidance So we do have confidence that Madagascar will continue on the path and the roadmap that they have indeed demonstrated seriousness about taking matters forward. So we believe that we are on a good course. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable President. We now move to the third question, which is question 15, which has been asked by Honorable Michalakis. The question is, following previous intervention, what has the President found to be the reasons that the National Water Crisis Action Plan will not be successful in restoring reliable water to deprived communities and eradicating sewage pollution? Honorable President.
In responding to the water crisis, we are drawing on the experience of our successful response to the electricity crisis. The implementation of the Energy Action Plan brought to an end more than a decade of persistent load shedding. And sometimes people often think that the load shedding was only over the past 18 months or 2 years. We did have persistent load shedding on an intermittent basis for almost a decade. We've taken the same approach of focused, coordinated actions into developing the National Water Action Plan. The plan, which is being overseen and coordinated by the National Water Crisis Committee, which I set up, was developed following extensive consultation with municipalities, water boards, and relevant departments. The National Water Action Plan is based on a thorough analysis of the root causes of the water crisis at municipal level and what needs to be done to address the challenges. It identifies actions that will significantly improve water service delivery in the short term, as well as actions such as legislative and other reforms that will take longer. Both the Energy Action Plan and the National Water Action Plan are part of the Operation Vulindlela process. The reform program as well that is being coordinated and driven by the presidency. Now, the challenges in the water sector are caused by deep structural problems at the municipal level. Now, these structural problems include the fact that the revenue from the sale of water is not ring-fenced and it's not reinvested into water provision. In most municipalities, there is no proper separation of the functions. Water services. Sorry, I dropped my microphone. My apologies. Otherwise, you would not hear me. So the functions of water services and authorities are not well set out. The measures being undertaken to improve water services in the short term include projects to increase access to water in unserved communities and completion of long-delayed water services projects. We are increasing support to struggling municipalities and strengthening interventions in poorly performing municipalities in terms of existing legislation. We are having to deal with when and how should national government make interventions, as most of our water processes are devolved to our municipalities. And when those municipalities fail, we find that the legislative process just gives them the right, and we are now working on the interventions that need to be taken by national government to make sure that the water challenge is addressed. We are also combating corruption and criminality in the water sector, including theft and metal parts that are put for sale as scrap metal, and also deal with the whole challenge of water tanker mafia, which we are dealing with effectively. Through the progress that we are making, we are confident that the implementation of the National Water Action Plan will result in the resolution of the water crisis, both in terms of restoring reliable water to deprived communities and eradicating sewage pollution as well. So importantly, it will address many of the immediate water challenges that communities face while establishing a foundation for sustainable and secure water supply into the future. This is what we aim to achieve. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable President. Honorable Michalakis.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. President, it's appropriate that you did your mic drop just after you admitted that these municipalities, mostly ANC municipalities, are actually performing appallingly. Mr. Speaker, as we speak, the Johannesburg suburbs of Coronationville, Brixton, Westbury, Hurst Hill, Auckland Park, Melville and Parktown West do not have water as we speak again. Barcelona local municipality governed by your party, the ANC, is currently in contempt of court by not providing water to residents for the last 3 months in Wynberg after the Human Rights Commission took them to court last year. eThekwini, run by the ANC, now loses 65% of its water, rivaled by Mangaung at 60%. And in my own constituency, Machabeng, also run by the ANC, residents have had to face water shedding for years now due to debt and failure to maintain infrastructure. The national water crisis has been continuing for years. It's a man-made crisis. It's an ANC-made crisis through poor municipal administration. My question to you, Mr. President, is this. Why did you allow your party, the ANC, to govern municipalities in such a way that we got to this point in the first place? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable President.
Honorable Speaker, the honorable member is making a long political speech on a matter that is so important and completely ignoring the measures and the interventions that government is making, particularly national government. National government that has demonstrated that even as there are problems and challenges in a number of areas that affect the people, the lives of our people, we're able to take action to address those challenges. Now, we've been very fortunate, Honorable Speaker, in that in addressing various challenges, we've built partnerships with labor, with business, with communities that have brought their expertise to bear, their capability to bear, their views to the table to help everyone address the challenges that we all face. Now, this water problem, rather than pontificate, rather than stand with a measure of piousness on pulpits, on platforms, requires the involvement of all so that we can solve the problem. We're finding great cooperation also at the local level, even amongst people who may belong to various other different political parties. They take the view that this is our problem, existential problem. Let's work together. And of course, the Honorable Speaker is not one that would find it easy just to be invited to work together with all others. But nonetheless, I would still invite him that let us work together to address this challenge. And it is when we work together that we are able to address even the most intractable and difficult problems. So my invitation is issued to the honorable member that rather than stand on platforms and pontificate, let us say, what can we do to work together to resolve this problem, rather than point fingers. This is the time to help us all to address the challenges that our people are facing. I would rather have him say, Mr. President, what can we do to make the lives of our people a lot easier? I'd rather hear him say, Mr. President, how can I support you that we address this problem together? This is what I am getting from a number of role players. Of their own volition, they come forward. They don't pontificate, they don't point fingers, and they say, this is our country. Let us work together to address the problems. Day in and day out, I get those types of approaches. I have to come to Parliament and hear the honorable member throwing insults, pointing fingers. And once again, I invite him, come, let's work together. So that even in the area you come from, Machabeng, we should hear you say, I am here and I intend and would like to have us work together to address this problem. And I want to hear him bring his wisdom. Wisdom is best used when you get into the scrum, rather than stand on the sidelines and throw your words of wisdom. They soon evaporate into air. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable President. Honorable M. Dlelang.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Mr. President, the Q1 progress report on phase 2 of Operation Vulindlela. No significant progress in focus areas of the National Water Action Plan, including the incorporation of the South African National Water Resources Infrastructure Agency, which is expected to triple annual investments in water infrastructure. Given that the agency's success relies on the scheduled transfer of staff and assets from the Department of Water and Sanitation and the Trans-Caledon Tunnel Authority by March 2027. What measures are in place to ensure this complex transfer happens seamlessly and on time without stalling bulk water projects? Thank you so much.
Honorable President.
Honorable Speaker, we are pulling out all stops and taking all measures to make sure that all these challenges that the member has identified and spoken to are resolved. The measures that the Department of Water and Sanitation are taking speak precisely to what the honorable member has said. I have confidence that we should be able to have all these issues addressed to show progress. We have shown tremendous progress with the Energy Action Plan implementation. And similarly, I have no doubt that having come up with a clear plan, which was crafted not only by the department, but by a variety of role players, we will be able to attend to the various challenges that the member has alluded to. So I have confidence, and I'd like to say to the honorable member, it shall be done. We will make sure that we implement. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable President. And now the Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Good afternoon, members of this august House. Sorry, I'm driving. You will not be able to see my face. My follow-up question is, vast platinum wealth is extracted from Marikana's soil daily, yet this community remains a visual indictment of state neglect. 14 years later, the blood has dried from the 16th August 2012 massacre, but the taps are still empty. The question is, by what exact date will your office, Mr. President, introduce a public water service monitoring portal that will enable South African households to not only report water service interruptions, but also allow them to track municipal response and resolution times and independently verify whether progress reports under the newly unveiled National Water Action Plan reflect the daily reality experienced by households on the ground. And Madam Speaker, it is my hope that, Mr. Ramaphosa, it will not take you 6 years to give us the exact date I'm talking about, as it has taken 6 years for the impeachment committee to finally
Thank you,
begin its
Honorable
task.
Member. Your
Thank you.
time has expired. Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Yes, in reference to, say, the public water monitoring portal, the dashboard, as discussed with regard to strengthening the water sector accountability system, parts of that system already exist, but the comprehensive public-facing system envisaged under the new Water Action Plan is being developed. So parts of it exist. The department already operates the National Integrated Water Information System, which is publicly accessible and contains dashboards covering water supply reliability, drinking water quality, and wastewater as well. We are now also having a water security dashboard which covers Gauteng and eThekwini. We will be able soon, and this is not going to be taking too long, to have a much more comprehensive system. So government is developing a public water services performance platform that will enable citizens to track the performance of water systems in municipalities, including water reliability and water quality. Now, there is a strong case to be made for that. So what I can say is that we are committed to making sure that such a system, a wholesome system that will be able to give such information is established. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable President. Honorable Reverend K.R.J. Mishra.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Mr. President, most interventions that have been taken were stopgap measures rather than systemic reform. Given that Nearly half of wastewater treatment plants are in a critical state, and municipal avenues for water are routinely diverted elsewhere. What concrete accountability measures will be taken to ensure that municipalities ring-fence water funds and prioritize maintenance over other expenditures to make the crisis action plan successful? Corruption and mismanagement in the water sector have cost taxpayers nearly 19 billion rands in 2023/24 alone, undermining drought mitigation efforts by diverting funds from infrastructure repairs and leaving millions without reliable water. With below average winter rainfall experienced in 2025 and serious forecasts for this year, action is needed to mitigate a drought. What urgent action has been taken or is being planned to address corruption and criminality in the water sector, particularly the water mafia? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mishra. Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. We're taking actions on a variety of matters. The scale of the problem obviously requires that we should move beyond just simply allocating money to infrastructure build, but also deal with the other attendant problems. We will be taking various steps to ensure that every failing treatment works must have a very clear recovery plan, and the recovery plan must be aimed at ensuring that there is responsible authority that will execute the plan, and the plan must be a funded one, but we should also be able to deal with the challenges that we have experienced, such as water tankering mafia, corruption in the whole system. And these are matters which, as I addressed this matter right at the beginning, I said we are focusing our attention on. And obviously, we are very conscious of the fact that when money that is intended to provide water is stolen, communities can rightfully express their dissatisfaction and expect government to take action. And that is exactly what we are going to do even more effectively going forward. So in the end, we're going to measure our success not by how many sort of meetings that Watercom will hold. We are going to ensure that our municipalities that do not have capacity to operate water systems, municipalities where corruption is rife, are dealt with in terms of the officials and even those who participate in corrupt activities. We will make sure that those are addressed. Ultimately, there is only one measure that matters. When a South African opens a tap, they need to ask themselves, does the tap have clean water? And if it doesn't, they are entitled to ask questions. What are you going to do? And we therefore need to deal with the part where we organize that they should have clean water, but at the same time deal with the failures that lead to this problem of them not having water, either because of corruption or because of water tankers who set up a number of structures to steal water and to ensure that our people do not get the water that they deserve. So we're going to be taking and are taking a variety of actions to address precisely the issues that Honorable Reverend Misha has come up with. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable President. The last supplementary will be from Honourable Mikalakis.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. President, it's difficult to ignore your progress if there exists very little to ignore. But I will take you up on your offer by asking you the question that you suggested. Mr. President, how can I help you to fix the mess that the ANC caused, leaving many South Africans without water as we speak? Because you clearly need all the help that you can get. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honourable President.
I have clearly called upon all South Africans to lend a hand, to make South Africa work. And Madam Speaker, I call upon the honourable member who comes from Machabeng to step forward so that we can work together so that we can all see progress in South Africa. I'm not going to be taking pot shots at him and his party in terms of the failures that they are also overseeing. And if anything, I will be saying, would like to work with you to address the challenges that are prevalent in a number of areas, including in areas where the honourable member's party is in charge of various municipalities, where ordinary and poor people always testify to the fact that they do not get the services that they deserve. So I'm willing and able to work with him. The question is, will he come forward with practical, positive, constructive proposals of working together? Thank you, Honourable Chairperson, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable President. We now move to the fourth question, question number 16, which has been asked by Honourable N.A. Taleka Mazibuko. The question is, considering that the local government is the sphere of government closest to the people, yet it has become the weakest in terms of financial management, governance and service delivery, what structural reforms have been implemented by President's administration to restore the capacity of municipalities and to strengthen accountability to ensure that communities receive reliable basic services which will enable job creation? Honourable President.
Honourable Speaker and honourable members, effective local government is essential to improving the lives of our people, supporting local economic development, and creating the conditions for investment and job creation. Now, according to the Constitution, the three spheres of government are distinctive, interdependent, and interrelated. While the Constitution says that each sphere must respect the constitutional status, institutions, and powers and functions of government in other spheres, it places a responsibility on national and provincial government to support and strengthen the capacity of municipalities. The strengthening of municipalities is an important priority of this administration. Regarding the restoration of municipal capacity, we have focused on building a more capable, professional, and developmental local government system by strengthening leadership and administration in municipalities. We have been working to improve coordination across the three spheres of government, including through the introduction of the district development model. We have undertaken targeted support to municipalities experiencing the greatest governance and service delivery challenges. In respect of strengthening accountability, government has identified oversight and monitoring strength and strengthened consequence management. We have supported interventions where municipalities are unable to fulfill their constitutional obligations. And national government has also enhanced collaboration between institutions responsible for governance, financial oversight, and combating corruption. Now, looking to the future, we are close to completing a review of the white paper on local government, which envisages far-reaching reforms to this critical sphere of government. Now, these reforms are directed towards building stable, capable, and accountable municipalities that can, in the end, deliver reliable basic services. They are directed towards restoring public confidence in local government and creating an enabling environment for inclusive economic growth and sustainable job creation. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable President. The first supplementary question will be from Ms. N.A. Kaleka Mazibuko, and I hand over now to the Deputy Speaker.
The Honorable Ms. Kaleka Mazibuko.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Mr. President, let me thank and acknowledge your commitment in providing stewardship to both your party, the African National Congress, and the GNU. Although it's early days, there are signs of improvement in operating performance, liquidity management, debt governance, budget practices, and infrastructure development. There is still poor implementation of policies like the DDM. This is manifested in limited municipal capacity, inadequate accountability, and overlapping responsibilities. Would you say that the measures that have been taken to deal with these challenges have been effective? And are there any critical areas of improvement you want to highlight? Secondly, our municipalities continue to have persistent challenges of irregular expenditure, financial mismanagement, and poor accountability shown by AG reports. Would you say tighter financial controls and consequence management have been effective? What needs to be improved? Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
The Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Yes, there is now measurable progress in executing the district development model. But I must say that implementation remains uneven, and the model has not yet achieved its original ambition of making government genuinely to operate as one across all 52 districts and metropolitan areas in our country. The most useful new information comes from government reporting to Parliament in June 2026. All 44 districts and 8 metros now have DDM1 plans. By 31st May 2026, 46 out of the 52 had completed a review of their 1 plans, and 43 reviewed plans had been endorsed by the relevant district or metro councils. More importantly, Honorable Deputy Speaker, government has begun measuring actual projects rather than merely whether plans exist. In 16 districts evaluated during 2025-2026, the government tracked the 5 leading catalytic projects in each 1 plan, and results were quite interesting. When we looked at the status of the district development plan, or model rather, catalytic projects, we found that those that are in implementation are 63%, Those that are in planning or procurement process are 32%. And those that have been completed are rather on the low side, but already showing indications that they are on the improving path. So this is genuine progress, but the low implementation is also a warning. The DDM has become reasonably successful at producing plans and identifying projects. The next challenge, in my view, is to convert these plans into completed infrastructure and measurable improvements in people's lives. So this is what we recognize is happening, but at the same time, we are committed to even addressing the second question that you raised of ensuring that these plans are introduced with adherence to procurement processes, and also as we implement them, we rid our municipalities of the always attendant corruption that always is reported on. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable President. The next supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Van Zyl.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. It should also be very obvious, or it should be obvious, that 30 years of tinkering with structures has not solved municipal problems. In many cases, it has made them worse. It should also be obvious that we can have the best structures imaginable, but they will fail to produce the desired results if they are populated by people who are not held accountable. Mr. President, in your SONA in February, you announced that you would lay criminal charges against municipal managers for broken service delivery, as South Africans continue to suffer. But since February, not a single criminal charge has come from you, and it has taken the DA to lay criminal charges against 10 of the worst municipal managers. Mr. President, when will you and your ANC start holding to account your members who abuse the public trust as they try to enrich themselves? Thank you.
The Honourable President.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, yes, people and municipalities have faced criminal action over water and wastewater failures, but there is a significant accountability gap. Prosecutions have generally targeted municipalities as legal entities rather than the individual municipal managers, the engineering officials, or the political office bearers. The scale of enforcement is larger, I should say, than is sometimes appreciated. Department of Water and Sanitation reported in 2025 that it had criminal charges or cases for sewage pollution against 59 municipalities. Around 40% of those water services authorities were for water services authorities. More recent reporting in June 2026 put the figure at 96 criminal cases that are involving 53 municipalities. So it is not correct that there has not been follow-up. There have also been convictions. In November 2025, Emalahleni local municipality pleaded guilty to multiple environmental offenses after repeated failures to stop sewage pollution. The court imposed a big fine on them, but that ran to about 600 million or so. So there's also been another important case which goes to disprove what you're saying, of the Tabacheu local municipality, which pleaded guilty to 7 offenses under the environmental and water legislation. So we are seeing action in all this, and I guess if we look closely, we should be able to see all that. And the Water and Sanitation Department opened a criminal case against the city of Matlosana in February of 2026 after earlier non-compliance concerning wastewater treatment and other failures on pollution. But there are weaknesses we must accept. And those weaknesses are matters that we need to look at and to work on. But there is work that is being done in this regard. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable President. The next supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mtolo.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, all members, Mr. President, given that Rustenburg municipality remains among the weakest performing in service delivery, can the President confirm what structural reforms have specifically reached the Marikana community, whose suffering under state neglect has continued unaddressed since the notorious concomitant email of the then Lone Mill Executive Director that preceded the 2012 massacre of 34 mine workers? I thank you.
The Honourable President.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, I didn't get to hear the question. Maybe
Honourable
you can
Mtolo,
help
you
me.
can perhaps, Honourable Mtolo, if you can just ask the question, not the whole preface to the question, only the question, please.
Honourable Speaker, given that Rustenburg municipality remains among the weakest performing in service delivery, can the President confirm what structural reforms have specifically reached the Marikana community, whose suffering under state neglect has continued unaddressed since the notorious email of the then Lone Mill non-executive director that preceded the 2012 massacre of 34 mine workers? Thank you.
The Honourable President.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I wouldn't know immediately exactly how the various parts of Rustenburg delivery processes have happened, but what I can say is that they are attending to the issue of water, because water infrastructure has been a major challenge, and there has been significant investment in the broader Rustenburg area when it comes to bulk water. And in January 2026, government commissioned to upgrade the Valkop water treatment works, and the community of Marikana would benefit from that. There is a substantial program to formalize and upgrade informal settlements in the Marikana cluster. And when it comes to roads, there are also projects for the Marikana CBD road. So there are a number of actions that are being taken to address some of these. In the end, I would be the first to acknowledge that our people, not only in Marikana but in the surrounding areas, have not been experiencing the level of quality service delivery that they are entitled to expect. A number of other areas around that municipality, the Rustenburg municipality. There has, however, been investment in terms of expanding the bulk water, as I said. But I don't think that government should measure success by announcing projects. It should be by actually getting the work done itself. So I do believe that a number of projects are now underway, and each of the projects will lead to the improvement of service delivery, also for those areas that the Honorable Speaker mentioned. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable President. The fourth supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Maimane.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Mr. President, good afternoon. You have gone out and acknowledged the fact that the people of Hammanskraal, that the government failed to provide water for them, and as a result, 40 people died. The Supreme Court of Appeal found that municipal negligence causally connected the death of a 17-month-old child who fell into an uncovered municipal storm drainage in Uitenhage. The court found that poorly maintained municipal infrastructure, particularly to people living in low-income communities, is an unacceptable danger. The Khampepe Commission, Mr. President, of Inquiry found that the City of Johannesburg and its entities were liable for Usindiso building disaster, in which 76 people died. More than a year, no accountability has been taken. So, Mr. President, these are over 100 South Africans who you and the courts have acknowledged have died due to poor municipal infrastructure. Will you, Mr. President, commit to the people of South Africa that you will hold all of those responsible, politically responsible? I take your previous comment about the criminal charges, but this is about you and party leadership and holding those in your party who were presiding over these municipalities accountable so that other leaders can do likewise.
Thank you, Honourable Maimane. Your time has expired. The Honourable President.
The answer is yes. Those people should be held accountable. Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable President. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Galeka Mazibuko.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Mr. President, please elaborate on why the ANC-led GNU has prioritized a lot of investment in infrastructure, and how has this strategy contributed to economic growth and development for our people and the economy? I thank you.
The Honourable President.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Well, we've prioritized the issue of infrastructure because it is one of the central pillars of our economic program. And this is deliberate. It reflects a diagnosis that South Africa's weak economic growth, unemployment, and deteriorating service delivery are increasingly consequences of infrastructure constraints. So the GNU's medium-term development plan identifies inclusive economic growth and job creation as its first strategic priority, and explicitly makes increased infrastructure investment and access as well as efficiency a key outcome. So government wants the gross fixed capital formation in our country to rise from the 15.1% where it is, and to rise to 20% by 2029, and we should be touching the holy grail that was set by the NDP of 30% in later years. South Africa cannot grow faster without fixing infrastructure. This is an impossibility. And we allowed infrastructure to decline for far too long. Infrastructure, in the end, in our view, can unlock unprecedented growth in our economy, and it can mobilize the private sector and the public sector to commit to embark on infrastructure projects. infrastructure, in the end, Honorable Deputy Speaker, creates jobs immediately. It enables jobs for decades, and infrastructure is also an industrial policy instrument. It enables the private sector to see that the country is going somewhere and to then invest. When a road is built, when the railroad is built, when our ports work, when our electricity is expanded from where it is, and its efficiency and its reliability rises as a result of infrastructure spend, that is when the private sector invests. So infrastructure is essential also to fixing our municipalities. Infrastructure can literally change the geography that apartheid bequeathed to us. And we saw that over the weekend at Riverside, where infrastructure has been installed in the form of houses, in the form of roads, and now in the form of, say, clinics and so forth. That's when it raises the confidence of the people, and it also creates opportunities for growth. And it is also an answer to a government that is facing fiscal constraints, that through infrastructure build, we can actually start seeing the economy growing. So I thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable President. We now move on to question number 17, which has been asked by the Honourable Trollip. The question is, on which objective metrics did he base the statement he made on 4 May 2026 that the mayor of the Nelson Mandela Bay Metropolitan Municipality, Ms. Babalwa Lobishe, was doing very well and was stabilizing the specified municipality? The Honourable President.
On the 4th of May this year, in my capacity as the President of the African National Congress, I participated in an oversight visit by the ANC Working Committee to Nelson Mandela Bay Metro, following engagements with the ANC regional leadership on the state of governance and delivery in the Metro, including the site visits to various projects. I was asked to reflect on the performance of the mayor, Baba Ralobishi. My comments were based on an in-depth assessment of the challenges in the Metro, some going back many years, and the steps that had been taken by the current mayor and Metro leadership to address them. I noted that while progress was being made in a number of areas, we would like to see better and faster progress on key issues that affect the lives of the residents of Gqeberha. Details on the matrix used by the national government to assess the state of municipalities may be sought from the Department of Cooperative Governance. I thank you, Madam Deputy.
Thank you, Honourable President. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Trollip. Honourable Trollip, you are muted. Please unmute your microphone.
I beg your pardon. Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Good afternoon, Honourable President. As you said, on the 4th of May, you visited Nelson Mandela Bay, and a number of media outlets, including SABC News, reported the following, with a headline that said, Ramaphosa backs Mayor Babalwa Lobishe. Apart from ongoing service delivery protests and visible decay of Nelson Mandela Bay, the Auditor General reports the following: non-revenue water losses at 63%, non-revenue electricity losses of 30%. She found that the expenditure on repairing and maintaining municipal infrastructure amounted to 2.5% of the value of those assets against National Treasury's minimum norm of 8%. Irregular expenditure increased from 21 billion to 31 billion over the past 2 years. She found that Nelson Mandela Bay takes the longest of all metros to pay creditors at an average of 189 days against a policy of 30 days. Also, that they have the highest senior management vacancy rate of all the metros. How, Mr. President, do you reconcile this with your in-depth assessment and your praise and backing of Mayor Lobishe?
The Honourable President.
As I indicated in my reply, whilst there has been indications of progress in certain areas, there remains challenges in a number of other areas. As there has always been, even when the Honourable Speaker was a mayor of the same metro himself, it was not all plain honey and roses. There were areas that were positive. There were areas that had serious weaknesses even then. That is what obtains in many of our municipalities. And there are times when you've got to give encouragement to those who are acting in various positions, but still be able to say, you have not done as well as you should have. There are problems, and in this case, the Honourable Member is alluding to the Auditor General's report and to many other areas of corruption. So in the end, it is an indicative process of saying there's progress. And I was taken to projects, may I add, as I said, where I saw for myself projects that were being opened, which were working, housing and otherwise. And at the same time, it's a mixed bag that one often encounters. So the issue is challenges remain. There have been some areas where there's been forward movement. Thank you, Honourable Deputy Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable President. The next supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Direku.
Deputy Speaker, it's Honourable Hassania. I will be standing in for the Honourable Direku. Through you, Deputy Speaker, Mr. President, when the Nelson Mandela Bay municipality appeared before the Joint Portfolio Committee of COGTA and SCOPA, there were a number of service delivery issues that were flagged. In your assessment, Mr. President, what have you found to be the successes of the municipality, and what measures have been put in place to address these service delivery issues? I thank you.
The Honourable President.
The successes that I perceived at the time when I visited was housing delivery in certain cases was something that I found quite impressive. And no doubt I was not taken to the many other areas of Gqeberha, but those areas where I was taken to, I could see that there was progress in the delivery of houses, and I remember this distinctly because I was taken to those areas. And there has been areas where service delivery intervention can be said to be working. But as I said, it's with many of our municipalities, Honourable Deputy Speaker, it's a mixed bag. And that is why we have decided to focus on reforming local municipalities, because there are areas where there's great performance, and then there are areas where there is debilitating lack of performance. In some cases, which would even tempt one to say it erases all the good parts that one would have been exposed to. And in the end, the real solution when it comes to all these matters is that we should improve our local government performance matrix. And part of the problems that we have is we have a large, many of our municipalities that are governed by coalitions. And that is where the disagreements and the failures actually reside. And the local government white paper seeks to address many of those. And we therefore need to work together to see how best we can reposition local government, because we cannot carry on with the weaknesses that we see in local government. There are, however, areas and pockets of progress that we see, but there are many more areas of real lack of progress where service delivery challenges persist and where the interests of our people are not well served. And in the end, the litmus test with regard to a local government entity is about whether people are getting a good service or not. And unfortunately, many of our local municipalities are not really living up to that. And we need to work with them. We at national level have said that we want to support our municipalities. And some of them are weak or have been weakened by lack of resources, by not getting either the residents to pay. And in some cases, it is government departments that don't pay their rates and taxes to municipalities. But still they expect good services from municipalities, whereas they do not pay, including some government departments. Minister of COCTA has been clear and firm on this matter, and even saying there will be consequences if our government departments and entities do not pay the rates and taxes that they should be paying to municipalities. So the problem is complex, but at the same time, we need to address it with regard to coming up with innovative ideas of how we can strengthen local municipalities. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable President. The next supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Ntlangwini.
Thank you so much, and greetings, Deputy Speaker. I'll be taking this question on behalf of Honorable Ntlangwini. My name is Matthias. Mr. President, under your favorite mayor, Babalwa Lobishi, the municipality attempted to write off about 23 billion of irregular expenditure. And that attempt was vigorously rejected by the National Treasury. Under the same mayor, the National Treasury was repulsed by the level of mismanagement that they have decided to withhold funds to the municipality due to chronic underspending and corruption. Most recently, Honorable President, there is controversy in that municipality over the 25 million transformer lease. Do all of these represent model leadership in your book, Honorable President? Would you want the conduct of Lobishi and those she is mismanaging the municipality with to be replicated elsewhere as a good model and good form of governance? Thanks so much, Deputy Speaker.
The Honourable President.
Clearly, the improvements that we want to see are that governance should be improved and that there should be less and less controversies surrounding various people we've deployed in local government. That is what we want to see. And in doing so, we would like to see good performance. We would want to see real commitment coming from those that we have deployed. And the model of a good municipal mayor is a municipal mayor who oversees a municipality that is being governed effectively, transparently, and in accordance with the rule of law. So, in the end, that is what we would like to see, not only with one municipality, but right across the board. And I do think that focusing on one is rather a problem, because we need to focus on the entire cohort of our public officials and say this is the standard that we would like to see adhered to, and we would therefore want everyone to move towards implementing that standard. So that is where I believe the focus should really be. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable President. The fourth follow-up question will be asked by the Honourable Wessels.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Through you, Mr. President, I put it to you with due respect that no efforts of the national government to turn around our municipalities will succeed if the leadership, the local leadership of those municipalities are tainted individuals. Given that the parliamentary oversight committees that before which the executive mayor appeared less than 2 months before your visit to the metro, criticized the mayor openly for a lack of accountability and a failure to implement recovery plans. Does your endorsement, and I do understand that you were there as the president of the ANC, Mr. President, but you remain the head of the executive, does that endorsement mean that the executive branch is discounting the structural findings by this parliament? I thank you.
The Honourable President.
No, we do not discount and condone bad behavior. We do not discount and condone processes that do not enhance good governance. We do recognize where there's been progress, and indications of progress moving forward is what we do recognize. And where there have been weaknesses, we point them out and get those who are responsible for those weaknesses to change their ways. However, if they have committed any form of crime, then that's a different matter. It requires a different type of approach and a different type of remedial action. And in this case, I think we need to deal with the issue of the extent to which there are weaknesses, and ask ourselves whether those weaknesses are weaknesses that need to be corrected. So in the end, we need to have that clear balance and say, are those weaknesses irreparable, and do they militate against the interests of the people? But in the end, we need to have that deeper examination of precisely what those are. Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Trollip.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Honourable President, having listened to your responses, I'm now more concerned than ever, because being taken to new projects to showcase progress in a failing municipality can clearly never constitute in-depth assessment. How do you explain that the very same mayor was severely and repeatedly castigated in Parliament by Cocteau because she, and I quote, doesn't respond to correspondence? ANC chairperson Mkhize said she doesn't know what she's doing. She was also excoriated for a controversial and unauthorized leasing deal of a transformer to Kucha, and she was criticized for administrative chaos. You, Mr. President, recently said over the weekend at the ANC manifesto launch, when asking for another chance in government, that, and I quote, poor performing councillors will not be protected. Those that fail to perform, who act dishonestly, and who abandon their communities will definitely be removed, close quote. Mayor Labisha has done all of that, and she hasn't been removed. In fact, she was paraded with the convicted criminal Andile Lungisa as one of the mayoral candidates. How do you reconcile those comments?
The Honourable President.
Your Honourable Deputy Speaker, I have responded in large measure to precisely the approach that I've had, and I have said that, yes, there are weaknesses and challenges in that municipality, as well as many other municipalities, and one should never hide from that reality. And the assessment in the end has to be measured, has to be based on, in the end, is the municipality well governed? And has there been criminal activities that have happened that have led to either the stealing of money and fraud and all that? That's what we need to examine as we move on. And of course, like any other municipality or municipal mayor, there will always be those challenges. And it is the scale on which then we should measure not only this type of mayor, but many others as well. So we are essentially dealing with municipalities with a mixed bag. And as we deal with a mixed bag, we need to examine precisely how we should handle those. Those, of course, as I said over the weekend, those who do not perform well should be removed. Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable President. We now move on to the last question, which has been asked by the Honourable Mofokeng. The question is, with reference to his State of the Nation address on 12 February 2026, wherein he announced the deployment of Operation Prosper to combat illegal mining, what tangible and measurable progress has been achieved to date in respect of the targets of the operation? The Honourable President.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Since the announcement in the State of the Nation address on the 12th of February in 2026, Operation Prosper has achieved tangible and measurable progress in combating illegal mining. Joint operations by the South African Police Service and the South African National Defence Force under Operation Prosper have disrupted illegal mining in the Free State, in Gauteng and the Northwest through high visibility policing, vehicle checkpoints, and air support. These operations have resulted in many arrests. It has also resulted in the dismantling of illegal mining sites and the confiscation of firearms, explosives, and illegal mining equipment. Now, through interdepartmental coordination with the Department of Mineral and Petroleum Resources, the joint deployment has resulted in the arrest of 1,080 individuals, among them armed suspects and undocumented minors. During these targeted operations, the deployment seized 19 firearms, over 2,000 rounds of ammunition, and 41 commercial vehicles. In addition, it has seized 83 generators, over 1,000 refining drums, and nearly 2,000 kilograms of gold-bearing material and approximately 150 kilograms of gold. And these actions have disrupted, in reality, the operational and financial lifelines of illegal mining networks. To prevent the resurgence of these activities, the Department of Mineral and Petroleum Resources has closed many illegal shafts, and further closures are planned in the future. So the police and the defense force continue to secure these locations through ongoing foot patrols, vehicle checkpoints, and air-to-ground monitoring systems. So progress is being made. But because we are dealing with a number of areas where these illegal activities are taking place, the progress might seem to be slow, and yet work is being done. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honourable President. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mofokeng. Honourable Mofokeng, please unmute your microphone.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Mr. President, South Africans have seen numerous interventions against illegal mining over the years. What is fundamentally different about Operation Prosper that gives government confidence that this time we will achieve a lasting reduction in illegal mining rather than another cycle of enforcement, withdrawal, and the return of illegal mining? Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
The Honourable President.
I think we are making progress in that we are using a multifaceted approach to dealing with the problem of illegal mining. We are engaging communities near where mines, these derelict mines are. We are also taking steps to deal directly with the illegal miners themselves, but we are also dealing with the physical sites where they do the illegal mining, and in a number of cases shutting them down so that they may no longer be used. And we're doing this also in recognition of the safety element, because these mines that are derelict are not safe anymore. And we have seen some deaths that have occurred as a result of mine workers being in places underground that are no longer being used. They call them madala sites. They are not well ventilated, they are not well lit, and so it is in their own interest as human beings that we should make this type of intervention. And at the same time, we are following up in the value chain further up to determine precisely who the real kingpins are. So the multi-sectoral approach that we are using is becoming quite effective. Thank you, Honourable Speaker, Deputy Speaker.
This next supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Schikkerling.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Good afternoon, Honourable President. Honourable President, if Operation Prosper is truly prospering, as you've said, and successfully removing illegal miners from a site today, there is nothing to prevent that same site from being occupied again tomorrow. Can the Honourable President please tell this House what measurable evidence, and I want to emphasize measurable evidence, not just words, there is that Operation Prosper is actually disrupting the criminal infrastructure, syndicates, and financial networks behind illegal mining rather than simply moving illegal mining from one location to another daily? Thank you.
The Honourable President.
Yes, Honourable Deputy Speaker, we do believe it is producing significant operational results, particularly in the way that I have spoken, also against the gangs. It is still too early to say that it has sustainably, at the moment, reduced the serious crime, but we are making progress. And we have seen how, through the deployment of our soldiers and the police, we've been able to disrupt a number of these activities. And there's always a danger, yes, that there'll be a reversion to utilizing those mining sites again. And one of the solutions that has been brought to the fore is that those that we can shut down, we should shut down and seal them more permanently. And in this regard, we need to work with the former owners and with the community, as well as with the police and the defense force themselves. So that too is a work in progress. I do believe that we've shaken this tree, and we should be able to ensure that we remain focused, even to the risk of the issue recurring and coming up again. And we must be clear that arrests alone, in the end, are not the real measure of success. The real measure of success is whether we will be able, one, to safeguard the interests of our people near those mines, and we will be able to eliminate the mining that is illegal, and the extent to which we will have closed those mines that give rise to the vulnerability of those people who are either working there illegally or indeed members of the community. Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable President. The next question will be asked by the Honourable Zibi.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Honourable President, in line with your last answer, isn't it time that the government considered a significant appropriation for the closure, for the permanent sealing and closure of many of these mines, and the expense recovered from the former owners who clearly have not adhered to mine closure procedures as set out in South African legislation? Because policing alone, as you say, will not solve the problem.
The Honourable President.
Yes, I would agree with Honourable Zibi that those abandoned and derelict, and we also deal here with ownerless mines that have unused shafts that have become the basis for illegal mining. Those, yes, do subscribe to physical closure and rehabilitation. That should become a bigger part of our strategy, I would say. It is a complex problem when it comes to the ownerless mines that are old, that had many shafts, and you say, shouldn't we get an appropriation from government? I would say yes. However, we should also recognize that with regard to those ownerless mines, the burden of funding their closure then comes to government. And closure involves just a massive engineering expense, that we need to take into account. But at the same time, we need to have a balance. What counts more? The lives of people in the area, women who will not be subjected to gender-based violence, because that is often the main concern that we need to deal with and contend with. And we should then approach those who were owners of these mines to participate in enhancing the proper closure of these mines. So my answer to your question is yes, that's what we should be doing. And if we go the appropriation route, we should get the Treasury to measure up what the actual cost would be and be able to do trade-offs and to see what is best in the circumstances. We should therefore use a multi-pronged type of approach, which will include closing, which will include dealing with those derelict mines or unused mines that are now becoming centers of criminality as gangs are now utilizing them for their own ends. But at the same time, there is another aspect where we need to ask ourselves about what ordinary people in very good ore body areas, like I give a good example, like in Sikukuni, where chrome ore is nearly present all over. And our people, and I once went to a meeting, public meeting, where they all said to a voice, to a man, a woman, and they said, we want you to give us mining licenses because we want to extract the wealth that is beneath our soil. Should they be characterized as illegal miners? Or should we find a way in which we grant them licenses and legitimize them and manage them better in that way? So it's a multi-pronged approach that we need to use to deal with this problem, because if we don't do so, we will always have problems, as has been said already. So it's one of those problems that requires a great deal of wisdom, a great deal of multi type of approach to discourage those mines, those derelict mines being used for criminal purposes as well as illegal purposes. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. President. The fourth supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mashlatsi.
Thank you, Deputy Chairperson. Also, Africa. President, given that illegal mining has evolved beyond a domestic law enforcement problem into a transnational organized crime and illicit financial flow challenge, with potential implication for South Africa's gold supply chain, tax revenue, investment environment, international reputation, and the integrity of our legitimate mining sector, how is government measuring the international credibility and effectiveness of Operation Prosper? In particular, has government engaged with the global initiative against transnational organized crime based in Geneva and other relevant international organized crime, financial intelligence, and law enforcement institutions to independently assess whether South Africa's intervention is actually disrupting the criminal networks, finances,
Thank you, Honourable
illicit gold. No, I'm not finished. Illicit gold supply chain proceeds of
Honourable
crime.
Member, your time has expired.
illegal mining rather than merely removing illegal miners from individual mining site. Allow me to ask my
Honorable
question, Deputy
Mashlatsi.
Speaker.
Honorable Mashlatsi, you have 1 minute. You are now on 1.5 minutes.
Allow me to ask this question. It's an important question.
Honorable Mashlatsi,
As a small,
every member's question is
as a small party, as a small
Honorable
party, I
Mashlatsi,
will never
pause.
ask an
Honorable
original
Bergman.
question until the end of this administration. Why
Honorable
can't you give me
Mashlatsi.
a chance to ask a supplementary question?
Mashlatsi,
I don't have any
minute.
original questions.
Honorable
So why
Mashlatsi,
can't
there
I
is a point
ask
of
a
order.
supplementary
Honorable
question, Deputy
Mashlatsi,
Speaker?
because
is
you
wrong.
can ask a question, but the rules state that you have 1 minute, and that is in recognition of the time allocated to each
My
every
time, it's say I'm still on
take the
50
matter,
something.
Honorable Mashlatsi, you can take the matter to the Rules Committee if you are not happy with the rules. But this is now
So
my
I
ruling,
can't ask.
and you
So
are
I
now
can't ask
out
the
of
original
order.
question, and now I can't ask a supplementary question. That's what you are saying to
Honorable
me.
Mashlatsi, that is something you take up with the Rules Committee. I have now ruled, and you
No,
are
no,
now
no, no,
out
no.
of order.
You can't prevent me from asking questions.
Honorable Mashlatsi,
You're wrong.
I have now named you
You're
3
absolutely
times.
wrong, Deputy Chairperson.
Honorable Mashlatsi, I am now removing you from the platform. Could the table please remove the Honorable Mashlatsi from the platform? Honorable President, Honorable Bergman, I have now dealt with the matter. We will now proceed. Honorable President, please proceed with your answer.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, what I heard as he was trying to develop his question was the extent of which Operation Prosper was having a negative impact on a global impact. We have not been able to measure that, but what we do know is that yes, it is having an impact in South Africa, but it is, as we said, a mixed impact. People are being arrested and they are being dealt with. The firearms are being removed, but we still need to have greater success in this regard. And we will be able to measure precisely the extent to which real progress is being made. But we must say that Operation Prosper has actually been able to bring down the incidence of illegal mining quite drastically because we focused on a number of areas in the Free State and in Northwest, yes, as well as in Gauteng. So it is producing significant operational results, but much more still needs to be done. And it is a bit too early to say that it has substantially reduced the serious crime that is given rise to by illegal mining. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable President. The last question will be asked by the Honorable Mofokeng.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Mr. President, beyond arrest and enforcement operations, what specific institutional and measurable mechanisms will ensure that the gains made through Operation Prosper are sustained after the deployment ends, and who will be held accountable if illegal mining returns to areas that have been cleared, as well as how are we seizing cash proceeds from illegal mining to offset the cost?
The Honorable President.
The various measures that will need to be taken, that is exactly the question that is given rise to. Measures through which we can see whether we are making progress. Then there's also the issue of sustain. There would be prosper, finishes its work. Violent crime should really have fallen in the areas where these mines are, and criminal organization or gangs should no longer be prevalent in those areas. And we should be able to reclaim the areas that currently our people are saying they are not even able to traverse. The criminal activities, including the finances thereof, must also be destroyed, and illegal mines must stay closed. Those are the measures I would say come to the fore that we would need to have as a sustainability measure. So work still needs to be done. And what we are involved in is that the work is being done. There is clear commitment from those members of the Defence Force that Parliament has agreed should be deployed. There is real commitment amongst the police who are working on these on the issue of illegal mining. So we are making progress, but of course we want to see much better progress than what we have, and we are committed because this is a problem, a challenge that has been raised by our people, which we need to address. But what we can say we have been able to do is to respond to the, if you like, cries of our people. As we deployed illegal, the Defence Force and our police, the criminality has come down and the incidents of illegal mining have come down. They do keep resurging, but they are being dealt with. We are making the progress that I've alluded to. I'm confident that we will reach a stage where we will have made greater progress, and what Honorable Zibi spoke about would be, I would say, the Holy Grail, where we will say we've now made real progress. The mines are closed and we've deployed all the resources that we need. The challenge that we have is that we have a lot of these mines that no longer have owners, and where the owners, as these mines were mined many years ago, more than 100 years ago, no longer have owners. The owners have either left or enriched other capitals of the world, and they did not participate in the rehabilitation of those mines. Those mines are now left to government to deal with because they are giving rise to a social problem, or many social problems. So we've got to have a multidisciplinary approach to solving this problem, but I have no doubt that we will. And some of it will be policy driven, and some of it will be regulatory driven, some of it will be allowing our ordinary people to get licenses to themselves get involved in a measure of mining, which we should not characterize as we go forward as illegal mining. And we need to determine precisely how those products are sold, because as it is now, the products that are eked out of the ground are sold illegally, illicitly, and they become part of the illicit economy, and the nation never benefits anything in the form of taxes or otherwise. So it is a complex problem, but I am confident, Honorable Deputy Speaker, that we are on the right path, and we will resolve this problem once and for all. So I do thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable President. Honourable members, that concludes questions to the President, and I thank the Honourable President. Honourable members, that concludes the business for the day, and the House is adjourned.
President is